On this episode of Our Mountains, reality TV star Mark Jackson joins us to talk about his amazing race around the world.
Rhonda's back in the kitchen cooking up some delicious cornbread salad.
And Richard Bowers is back to perform a beautiful gospel song. All this and more are coming up on Our Mountains. Welcome to Our Mountains. I'm Rhonda Brashear.
I'm Dean Osborne.
And I'm Joel Brashear. And folks, welcome again. Today we're going to start off with something kind of special, but before we do that, I want to ask you all, what was your favorite television show growing up? Mom?
Probably I Love Lucy. I just loved her and she was so funny.
Dino?
I had two. Tom Jones Show when I was real small and Hee Haw.
Both good, both good. I like professional wrestling. That was my favorite show growing up. I was going to be a pro wrestler till I was about 19 and kind of decided, maybe not. But Miss Vanita Caldwell was with us. Dean liked that. Miss Vanita Caldwell was with us just a couple weeks ago for an interview that you did with her mom. But we brought her back. She's going to tell us a story today about watching television when she was growing up here in our mountains.
Since we're here today celebrating Rhonda and Joel's brand new adventure of TV and Our Mountains, I thought we'd talk a little bit about TV and how TV in our mountains, these beautiful mountains, has changed since I was a child growing up in the 1960s. We got television in the Morgan household about 1957, 58. So when I talk about growing up with television, I'm talking about the 50s and the 60s and early 70s here in eastern Kentucky. And for those of you who might want to reference, if you know where Rhonda lives, I lived on the other side of that hill right there. So when we're talking about this, I'm talking about very, very close. When my son was about 13 years old, he was having this big fit because we didn't have DirecTV. All I heard was every day, it was, when are we going to get DirecTV? I mean, cable had become just not good enough for Ben at that particular point, and he wanted DirecTV. And I had heard DirecTV just about as long as I had wanted to hear DirecTV. That's a plug, I guess. I should probably stop saying that, TV. But anyway, I got tired of it, and one day I said, son, sit down, because I want to tell you a little bit about DirecTV. I have had DirecTV long before you were born. I had DirecTV because DirecTV meant that it ran from a line in the back of my house to the top of that mountain right there. And let me tell you about my experience with DirecTV. My father would come home on a Monday afternoon because that was when Gunsmoke was on. And he would want to watch Gunsmoke. But unfortunately, it had rained or it had done something. An acorn had fallen, a leaf had fallen. This is a perfect day. If Daddy were coming home from coal trucking today, this would have been an evening when he would have had to have made a little trip to the top of the mountain to clear off the TV line so that we could get a signal. All right, so up the mountain he would go to readjust the antenna, which was perched precariously on the top of the highest cliff on the mountain. So there he would go. Now, I was part of the Morgan TV relay team. Now, what that meant was, and I was the most important part. Let's get that clear. I was the most important part of the Morgan TV relay team. My father would trudge to the top of the mountain. My mother would station herself in front of the television and she would turn it on. My sister, who always resented the fact that I had the most important part, was on the porch. I was in the car with my hand ready to go on the horn. And here's how this worked. My father is on top of this mountain and he is turning the antenna to get a signal from Lord knows where. When it comes in really clearly on the TV, my mother yells at Betty Sybil. Betty Sybil yells at Vanita Carroll, and Vanita Carroll hits the horn. Now that seems like a seamless operation, but let me tell you what happens between the turning and the honking. Time passes, and while they're relaying the message to the horn honker, Daddy has already passed it up. and often comes back to the house with TV in the same shape that it was in when he left. But anyway, so that was our direct TV in the 1950s and 1960s. My husband, who grew up in the thriving metropolis of Coon Creek in Leslie County, has a story that he tells that just about kills me every time. When he was about, my husband is one of 8, a large family. And they too had direct TV, but they also had a line that had come loose from the side of the house and was just hanging there. Doug and his older brother Wayne were on the porch, and it began to thunder, and a storm started up, and there was lightning. And my mother-in-law comes out and she says, "Boys, you need to get in the house right now." And they're like, "Nah," you know, and she says, "Seriously, you're going to get hit by lightning. Get off the railing. You're standing by that line. Get off there. You're going to get hit by lightning." "No, we're not going to get hit by lightning." And they paid absolutely no attention. Well, lightning struck and hit both of them. Now, in 1968, 67, 68, probably for those boys, when anyone gets struck by lightning on Coon Creek, that's big news. If that happens today, that's big news. But anyway, word got out that Willie and Evelyn's boys had been struck by lightning. And so people started coming, you know, and people from across the creek came, and people from down the road came, and they all wanted to see these boys where they got struck by lightning. Well, Wayne, the older boy, would just simply put his arm out and show them where he got singed all the way down his arm. My husband had to drop his pants.
Well, folks, we sure do appreciate Miss Venita coming and sharing a story with us. You know, I've worked in television now for the better part of a decade. I've done everything from duct tape a camera to a pole and field dress a microphone in the middle of a forest, but I've never had to deal with something like that. Now, don't you guys go anywhere. There's a whole lot more Iron Mountains coming up right after this.